Hello and welcome to this online lesson. My name is Mr. Hoven, and today we are going to be looking at the event that brought the United States out of neutrality and into World War II. The event that awoke a sleeping giant. If you remember from last time, we were discussing the early U.S. involvement in the war. Again, we proclaimed a stance of neutrality, but through things like Lend-Lease and Cash and Carry and the Neutrality Acts and the Atlantic Charter, we were slowly becoming more and more involved with the war. And it was just a matter of time before an event brought us in without any hesitation whatsoever. So, during the early stages of the war, the U.S. puts an embargo on the Japanese in response to their aggression. In the Pacific, Japanese had been taking over different islands and being very aggressive towards free small countries and islands of the sort. And in response to this, Roosevelt put an embargo on the Japanese. All Japanese funds, well, their money and U.S. banks was frozen. They weren't able to get it. And the sale of gasoline, oil, and steel, along with other materials to Japan, was completely stopped. And this, as you might have guessed, angered Japan. We're cutting off all of their resources and their assets, and they're getting very, very angry. Up until December 1941, the U.S. had little interest in entering a war. Keep in mind, we're still trying to get out of that Great Depression. The Lend-Lease, Cash and Carry are starting to help. But we really don't want to get involved with a war. We want to stay out of it, put up the fence, and keep people away. We'll trade, we'll get our economy back, but we don't want a war. However, that stance of neutrality would come to an end on December 7th, 1941. December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy. On December 7th, 1941, the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor was suddenly and deliberately attacked by the Empire of Japan, Japanese planes. Over 3,000 sailors lose their lives in this sneak attack. Dozens of U.S. ships and planes are destroyed in the attack, which lasts over an hour. And FDR immediately declares war on Japan, and in a fireside speech, remember we talked about his fireside chats, he declares December 7th, 1941, as a day that will live on in infamy forever. So why would Japan attack the United States? Remember, FDR had signed the Lend-Lease Act with the Allied powers, and this stated that the U.S. would be trading with the Allies during World War II. We also put the embargo on Japan, which cut off trade of both oil and steel to Japan and froze all of their money in U.S. banks. Japan knew that without these resources, war would be difficult to wage. And Japan hoped that in Pearl Harbor, because a big part of our Navy was there, that they would carry a knockout blow to the U.S., completely devastating our naval fleet. We were knocked down, but we were not knocked out. And Pearl Harbor was geographically close to Japan, so it made it an easy target for the Japanese Air Force. So following FDR's fireside chat, the Senate voted 82-0 for war, or for the U.S. to declare war on Japan. And the House voted 388-1 to declare war on Japan. Again, Japan just woke the sleeping giant, and they were about to feel our wrath. Coming to Japan's defense, Germany, in turn, declares war on the United States on December 11th, 1941. The U.S. is now completely and entirely involved in the conflict. And it will be up to us, along with our allies, to put down the Nazis of Germany, the fascists of Italy, and the militarists of Japan. Hope you enjoyed today's online lesson. We'll see you next time.